Holy mackerel! It's time for a Simmers morning skate with none other than the man I call Jackie Baby, former lounge singer, voice of the Oilers, Jack Michaels. What's going on?
It's been a while.
It has been a while since we...
I like the way we were set up here. I thought you were going to have to find some sort of crate or
No.
some scenario. Like, we almost look like we could be roughly the same size.
What are you, 6'5"?
I really like that. I like that you started with 6, but yes, I'm 5'11".
Right.
On my best days. Although we're shrinking, both of us. You're probably down to 6'6".
No, don't say that. Oilers and Canucks. We got to be just Jacks. No pun intended.
This is the 4th year in a row they played in the season opener right here in this building. Yeah. So, I certainly had a hunch that it would be Vancouver. For whatever reason, Edmonton gets to start all the time at home.
Yeah.
43 years, they've started 33 times at home.
6 straight at home.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. It's odd.
Canucks are 5 on the road.
And the Flames have 9 of 10 at home, and the one game they play is here on Saturday night. So yeah, Alberta is getting a lot of hockey in the month of October. It's a little tricky. I think the players typically, as you know, being in the business, they like to get out on the road and get like kind of a bit of a team unison type, kind of meshing and all that chemistry stuff. So you got to take advantage of these games at home. You're not going to get them back.
Right.
And the Oilers, they've thrived on their starts. 3 times in the last 6 years, they've started at least 7-1, and they needed to do it last year. They got off to a 9-1 start, 16-5, and thereby when they went through that hideous slump where they lost 13-15, they were able to recover and make the playoffs quite easily.
Yeah.
You don't want to tempt fate, though, and that's why you put points in the bank when you can. You get a lot of home games early. You got to take advantage because obviously it dictates that you're going to see a lot of time away from home later in the year.
Yeah, and obviously you saw what a slow start can do to a team with the Canucks last season.
Absolutely, buried him. I mean, they played to a 105-point pace under Bruce Boudreau and didn't really come close to making the playoffs.
No.
I mean, they were great.
They flirted.
Yeah.
By the way, the guy sitting down here to our left a little bit, Ken Howell, when he was in Detroit, he's the guy that came up with the American Thanksgiving concept that if you're out then, there's a darn good chance you're not going to make the playoffs if you're outside the playoffs.
Well, the three-point game.
That early.
Yeah, the three-point game makes it difficult. And again, Vancouver was great. The biggest question for me, with respect to the Canucks is, what's their blue line look like?
Oh, yeah.
Tyler Myers went down. That's not going to help. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is kind of a question mark tonight.
Not the Canucks are skating right now, and OEL is not out there.
Correct. Right. So
no Myers.
Yeah, I mean they're banged up and they're thin to begin with.
Yeah.
So that puts a lot of pressure, you'd think, on Thatcher Demko. And if he's not a top 8 goalie in the National Hockey League, the way the Canucks have counted on him the last 2 years, they don't have a chance to make the playoffs, in my opinion. They need him to be great.
Really good.
And Spencer Martin was good, but I mean, that's a small sample size.
Exactly.
They're banking on a lot out of his 6 starts.
I agree.
Now, again, I think if you flip it over to Edmonton, they're asking Jack Campbell probably to play 50 to 55 games. He's never done that before in the National Hockey League.
Yep.
He's played great in stretches for Toronto, and he's played not so great. And he's going to be the workhorse this year. They've got Stuart Skinner behind him, who seems ready, has had a healthy apprenticeship in the American Hockey League and looked good in the NHL last year. But that, I would say, is a bit of a question mark for Edmonton as well.
Yep.
Because as you know, the one thing about the league is until you've done it, it's kind of silly to project that you can do it. Like,
absolutely.
Telling a guy to score 25 goals when he's never done it, well, and the same thing kind of applies to goaltending. So those are, I think, some of the biggest questions surrounding these two teams. I think most people have Edmonton in the top 2, and I think most people, quite frankly, have Vancouver in a cluster of maybe 3 teams, LA, Vegas, Vancouver, that's going to get that 3rd spot in the Pacific. Because I believe that history is going to repeat itself, and there's going to be 5 from the Central and 3 from the Pacific. That's my strong hunch.
All right. Last thing, since you covered the goaltending question, which to me and a lot of people obviously is always the biggest thing. It's the most important position on the ice, if not in sports, outside of a quarterback. Sometimes, we saw a little bit in the postseason last year, the D still tends to run around a little bit for the Oilers. And I'm not sure what I mean, Darnell Nurse seems to be coming into his own as maybe a leader. He's matured, obviously, but is that another small element to this?
I think so.
Cleaning up the D zone?
I think so. I think Nurse and CC, Edmonton's banking on them to be their shutdown pair. And, Nurse obviously is entering the first year of his big deal that was predicated on him scoring double-digit goals. He doesn't need to do that for Edmonton to feel like they're getting value of that contract. If he throws up 35 points and plays that shutdown defense and plays with the mean on, plays that nasty game, there's not too many who do anything.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I remember him at I was in Lake Placid, New York, and he was playing in one of those World Junior Summer Showcase deals, and he went ballistic.
He can have a nasty disposition.
Like a boarding and a game misconduct in an exhibition
and
game.
That's what you want. That's honestly what you want out of Darnell Nurse. He is one of the few guys, you don't hear it that often anymore. Kevin Lowe's up in the Raptors. He was a guy that no one really liked playing against because they knew they were going to get chopped and cross-checked. There's not many D out there like that. Like Quinn Hughes is a good player, but no one would say, "Oh, I'm in for a rough night. I'm playing against Quinn Hughes."
No.
Darnell Nurse is one of those guys. Cody Cece's another. They've got a nice shutdown D player, but you're right. Evan Bouchard's going to be a heck of an offensive player. He scored 12 goals and 43 points in his first full season. Yeah. He's pushing Tyson Barrie for the top power play here, which is, as you know, first and third the last 3 years in the league. And did you ever think we'd see a year where 26% would be third in the league? 10 years ago, that would have led the league by 10 points. But you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
They've got some personnel back there. Bouchard, Barrie. But you're right. Ryan Murray's coming off yet another injury-plagued season. Right now he's earned a spot in the top 6. Yep. Brett Kulak is a guy that certainly played well down the stretch and helped pick up Tyson Barrie's game. But ultimately, has he been a top 4 for 82 games in an NHL season? No, he has not. So they've got some young prospects. They like Philip Broberg. They like Marcus Niemelainen, but neither of them made the team. So there's no doubt that, Edmonton could be construed as being a little thin on the back end. Yeah. And that could be one of the things you see with a club that's likely looking at a late first-round pick for the first time in eons. And the Oilers have every first-round pick they've made since 2013, last 10 years. They're the only team in the league that can say that. They've got all 10 picks in the organization. This year, that pick may be in play to kind of answer your question.
It's funny, Kenny Holland mentioned the 3 defensemen that you mentioned, Broberg and the other 2 that didn't make it at Youngsters. He said those are the 3 that are competing for these jobs right now. So I guess you just answered that.
And they traded one of them, Sam Rudkoff. They moved him for that Klim Kostin, who was a one-time first-round pick of the St. Louis Blues. He's going straight to Bakersfield.
Now, here's the other funny thing, and I always give him crap about this.
Kenny.
And he took Philip Zadina in his last draft with the Red Wings. He passed on Richard and Quinn Hughes. Yikes!
Yeah, and Quinn Hughes was in his backyard.
In his backyard next pick.
Right. Now, how does he respond when you chime? Because that's certainly something I'm not bringing up anytime soon.
Well, we go back away. So
yeah, okay. You can get away with it? All right, good.
That's more than you'll need to know about this hockey game tonight, I think, because it's home opener. Everybody's going to be excited and everything else.
Is that a nice way of saying you've heard enough?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it is.
No.
I've known this guy 23 years. I know when it's time to wrap it up.
23? That's pretty specific. Is it exactly 23?
23 years.
23 years.
Fall of 1999, we met in Boise, Idaho. One of my first road trips in the old West Coast Hockey League. You were the voice of the Idaho Steelheads, and I was the voice of the Colorado Gold Kings.
That's right. You probably did some drinking that night.
I can imagine we probably did. It's only your YouTube channel. I'm not too worried about it. All right, I had a little alcohol when I was 22 years old.
It was 23 years ago.
He dragged me down.
I was going to church the next day. Jack Michaels, great job.
Always good to see you.
Appreciate it. Have a wonderful game tonight. Have a nice broadcast.
That's actually not true. It's not always good to see him. It's occasionally good to see him.
Simmers Morning Skate from Rogers Place, not to be confused with Rogers Arena. We'll see you a little bit later.